Each year before we get started with the season, I like to do some general maintenance on my Ventrac, and so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you exactly what I do and what I look for when I'm going over the machine, getting it ready for the upcoming season. Take a look under the hood. You've got a couple different documents here. It tells you a lot of good information, but we're going to focus right here on the service that we just did. So 4500Z, engine oil and filter every 100 hours. Primary and secondary filter, it gives you the frequency there. Fuel filter, hydraulic filter, and hydraulic oil. And then you've also got your grease points. It kind of lays them out here for you, and it tells you how much grease to put in it. It tells you how often to do it, so every 50 hours. So you should be doing this multiple times a year. Let's take a look at a couple of the tools we're going to need to get this job done. This is just a big oil catch pan. Helps catch some of the dripping from your oil filter when you take it off. A gallon jug to catch your oil in when you drain it. Paper towels. Small funnel will do, really any size funnel. This is an Allen head, 5/32. That's your standard bolt size on your Ventrac fairings. And then the 11/16 open-ended wrench to get the oil drain plug off. There's your parts list of the parts that we're going to be servicing today. I do have an extra quart of oil on here, and I did not have to buy any hydraulic fluid. Already had some of that on hand. So if you're sitting on the tractor on your left hand side down by your feet, you've got your hydraulic filter here. Well, just below it is going to be your oil drain plug, and it is a 11/16 wrench. So right before I did this, I let the tractor idle for maybe about 5 minutes or so to get everything warmed up. Here's the oil filler cap, and if you loosen it up, it's going to allow your oil to drain more completely and a lot quicker. Give it a vent path. And here's your oil filter right here behind this panel, and these are 5/32 bolts if you have the factory ones on there. This one right here is really hard to get to if you have the 4-valve assembly on the front. I just like to stuff a bunch of napkins up under it where that filter is going to come off. So here's the oil filter from the Ventrac dealer. There's your part number from Ventrac, and this is for the 4500Z Kubota engine. One thing that's always good to do is just hold up the old filter next to the new one and verify these oil filter numbers do match. You just want to spin these on hand tight. There's no reason to put a filter wrench on them. So my tractor has 140 hours on it. So just write that right there on the filter, and it's April 2022. Oil's pretty well done draining, so you want to make sure you put your drain cap back on. We're going to put 3 quarts of oil that Ventrac recommends for the 4500Z. So you want to make sure you look up your specific model, because each one takes a different oil filter, and it also takes a different amount of oil. So we are running Ventrac brand engine oil, 10W30 full synthetic. All right, so I got a tick mark here for low. Now I've got a tick mark here for high, and we're probably at 1/2 inch below that high oil mark. Back over here on the left hand side of the tractor, this is your intake. This is where your intake filters are. There's 2 of them in here, and we're going to be swapping both of them out. They don't really recommend you blowing them out with like an air compressor. You're really supposed to kind of tap them off. You don't want to damage the little fibers on the actual filter itself. And then here's your inner filter. Your hydraulic expansion tank filler neck is right here, and you've got a sight tube for your hydraulic fluid down in here, and you've got a level indicator right here. So you've got a high mark there, a low mark there. So we're going to be using this Ventrac Hydrotorx. It's a hydraulic fluid synthetic 5W30. We're not going to be servicing the hydraulic system today. My tractor has 140 hours on it, and per Ventrac you change out the filter and fluids at 100 hours and then at 500 hours. So all I'm going to be doing today is topping off the hydraulic fluid. If you're pretty low, you may not see level come up right away, but what we're going to do is crank it up, and then we're going to steer it left to right a couple times. There's my fluid level, and I'm right at the high mark. So we'll check it a couple times as we run it and see. If I need to drain a little bit out, I will, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be pretty good. Next thing I like to check is my coolant tank level, and the trick to getting this off is it'll turn about that far, and then it kind of pops up, and you got to push down on it and turn it the rest of the way to get it to release off. You can see my fluid level is pretty good. It's right up to the bottom of the flange here. And if you look at my coolant overflow tank, there's probably about 1/8 of an inch in the bottom of it, so I think we're good on coolant level. I'm gonna get this plate off. We're gonna get the fuel filter changed, and that should be all we have to do for the fuel system. Lost a bolt for over here. This bolt over here is frozen in there, so I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna get that bolt out. If you're ever going to be welding on a piece of equipment, you need to unhook the battery before you weld on it, because you can potentially fry the computer in that piece of equipment. Guarantee that will come off. I think the heat alone broke that one free. And then there's one more right here on the floor pan. Here sits your fuel filter up under the panel we just took off. And it's got 2 clamps here that we're going to remove to get the fuel filter out. Right up here you got a fuel disconnect, and just turn it off. It's just a 90-degree ball valve. There's our new Ventrac fuel filter. So if you look on this one, it's pretty hard to see, but there's an arrow here that points towards this, what looks like a cap, and that's exactly how this one's oriented. A lot of times on these fuel lines, I'll take a little small flathead screwdriver to help get it pop loose. Right now we're just turning this ball valve back on, and you may not get fuel right in your filter right away. It's got a little bit of a vacuum on it, but as soon as we fire it up, it'll suck it right in there. So this is the type of grease that we're going to be using today. Pick it up at Tractor Supply. I've used it a lot on my tractor implements and it seems to work well. We're going to start with the 3-point hitch. If you look down behind that panel, there's your fit in there, and it does not line up well with the hole, so you just got to kind of finagle it around till you figure it out. All right, back around on the side of the tractor where we drain the oil. There's a zerk fitting right here. And then on the other side of the cylinder, you got a zerk fitting right here. Follow that linkage back. I believe that one's clogged up. Since this is a 90-degree zerk fit and there's no way to get a wrench on it and unscrew it, so we're going to apply a little bit of heat to it, and we're going to use a dental tool to try to pop loose whatever's got it stuck here on the end. And if we can get it accepting a little bit of grease, hopefully it'll blow the rest out. So what I did is I heated it and then I punched it with the dental tool and tried to clean it out. I hooked the grease gun up to it. It still wouldn't accept it. I heated it again, did the whole process again, and the third time I heated it and punched it with the dental tool a couple times, and then hit it with the grease gun. It had enough pressure to finally flush it out. Plate right here between your feet. There's a dirt fitting right there. Oh, that one didn't get on there all the way. Tell as soon as it starts shooting out the side of the fitting. Now we're back in that same panel where we did the oil filter. The next one we're going to do is on the rear of the lift cylinder. All right, so the hardest one to get on is the front drive shaft, and I've already got it on there. It took me quite a while and it is aggravating. So what you got to do is run your hose in between your quick couplers here. It's going to go under your radiator, and under your radiator there's a bracket here that's solid on front. So you got to go behind that bracket, and directly behind that bracket is going to be your front linkage. The zerk fitting is on one side of it. I bump the key on the tractor until it lines up, and then you can adjust it barely by just rotating this fan, just like jostling the fan a little bit. You know, Ventrac says you can just turn the fan and rotate the linkage around, and I've never had success doing that. Take your radiator screen out. Pull out your dust cover and pull it up a little bit. So this gives you a good visual of the back side of the drive linkage. So this is exactly what the front side looks like. And you can see that zerk fitting right here on the side. That's exactly how it's oriented up front where we just greased it. So now we're going to bump the key until that one's pointing straight up and down. Okay, now we're on the front of the tractor, and if you come straight up under it, up under each one of these hookup arms, and if your hookup arms aren't in the right position, you'll have to crank the tractor and get those adjusted to where the zerk fitting's accessible. So if you hadn't done it yet, you need to get you some of these. These are from Lowe's, stainless steel, 1/4 inch by 20 thread count, 3/4 inch long. And we've also got the ones with the nuts on the back are 1/2 inch long, and you can get these things for less than 50 cents a piece and replace all those Allen head key bolts on this tractor, because eventually one's going to freeze up on you and you're not going to be able to get it off. I'll say the only thing I dislike on hex heads, when you put the socket on there, you have to barely keep it off the paint or you'll run a big ring right around the paint. One thing I like to do is check my tire pressure, and I usually run the single wheel application, and Ventrac recommends 8 to 16 psi for single wheel. It looks like I'm right at 8. Well, I hope this helped out. It's a good idea to always keep up with your general maintenance on your equipment. It'll be more reliable and last a lot longer for you. So there's straight from Ventrac. That's their red that they use on the tractor. So it should match perfect. Might as well just go ahead and spray the whole black grip.